Hey, everybody, and welcome to a staggering wild ride with Steve-O. There is simply no other word for the accomplishments of Dr. Phil. It is staggering that he has 9 #1 New York Times bestsellers, 31 Emmy nominations, and he's been officially recognized as the mental health expert who has reached and inspired the most people, ever. Period. He's Dr. Phil, dude. We got Dr. Phil over here. And not only do we get him, but we got the greatest episode ever. We were all just so happy, man. We got serious, talking about serious issues. We also laughed our asses off. I mean, for God's sakes, I think the Wild Ride podcast is on a roll, and roll with us. Let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, people of the universe, I bring to you Dr. Phil.
Yes.
Hello, hello.
Yeah, dude. I gotta say that this is one where I was pleasantly surprised, even ecstatically shocked that you said yes.
Why?
Well, I don't know. I just kind of think you're a big deal, man.
Well, one of us does.
It's epic, man. Our good buddy Adam Ray has been making some pretty big waves dressing up as you.
I know. I'm going to have him come out as me sometime at the top of the show. I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm just going to have him come out at me and see how long it takes him to say, wait a minute, that's not right. Hey, hold on, that's not right. We've actually not met, although I did a thing for their for a podcast recently on New Year's Eve. I think it was their first arena podcast or something they were doing.
Yeah, the Kill Tony
show.
Yeah, on Kill Tony. Ron White's a really good friend of mine, and he called and asked me if I'd do something for him. I said, of course.
It's great.
I was wondering if that was like a cameo they paid for or something, but that was really you.
No, it's just Ron White's a good buddy, and he called and asked me if I'd do it, and I said, sure.
That's great. Yeah, we had Adam Ray on, and he said that you had reached out to him, and that when he first learned that you had reached out, that he was terrorized, thinking, oh no, it's going to be a cease and desist situation.
I thought his son reached out.
Yes,
His
your
son reached out.
Yeah.
Yeah, your son reached out to him.
Oh, okay.
And then it ended up being just supportive and friendly. And he was.
Oh, listen, man. People get all bent out of shape if somebody's out joking around and stuff. Come on, get over yourself.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing in life is take life seriously, but just don't take yourself too seriously.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm flattered. I was pleased to hear what he was doing. And apparently he's a great guy and is having
really
a good time.
You think he's doing a good job impersonating you?
I think he does pretty good. He needs to put a few extra syllables in a few words. I don't watch myself very often, but when I do, I have to check something, that I've shot. I'll watch a few minutes. It's like, my God, spit it out. God, you talk so slow. Spit it out, boy.
Yeah, I can relate to that sometimes. So here we are in Texas on a sprawling 5-acre studio where you are launching your own news network. It's a news network?
Well, it's news and entertainment. It's Merritt Street Media, and our byline is essential news and entertainment. It's Merritt Street Media, essential news and entertainment, and I like to think about it as television you can use. We do a lot of different things, but it's my network, and then I've gotten a lot of my friends to come and join as well. Steve Harvey's involved, and Nancy Grace. Love Nancy.
You're doing the cops show.
Got cops in jail both.
Is it? But it's reruns.
Yeah, those are
Cops.
reruns. Nancy Grace is all new episodes.
Yeah, she's new.
True crime.
True crime is really popular, and
oh, tell me about it. I love it.
People, and I've got so many true crime shows. I've done, 21 years of shows on CBS, and we did a lot of crime over those years. Stories that we followed up on and dug into and investigated, and so I don't know how many episodes were crime related, but we air those on Merritt Street, and then I've been friends with Nancy, and she and my wife are really good friends, and so I contacted her and asked her if she'd like to join Merritt Street Media, and she said, "You bet." So she does a live show every day.
Wow.
And she's always on the hottest, crime story that's out there,
Yeah.
and does such a great job. And
You saw that they're coming out with the Jinx 2?
Ooh,
is that
follow
right?
up.
Are you
No, I
familiar
hadn't
with
seen
the
it.
Jinx?
Yeah,
I just saw a trailer for the, I guess he's in court, and
really,
Well, he's since
Can
passed
you-
away.
can you look
think.
that up, the
Sorry for
Jinx
the
2?
spoiler.
yeah.
Now, this Merritt Street Media launching as a network is the biggest network launch since Fox was launched. Is that right?
Yeah, by a long shot. Actually, I was looking this up just the other day. One of the guys showed me some stuff on it. When Fox launched, of course, it's been a long time, but they're huge now, of course. But when they launched, they were in 22% of the country. And then when Fox News launched, they were in 10 million homes. They were available in 10 million homes when they launched. And we're currently around 90 million. We're available in 90 million homes.
Really?
Yeah, so it's a huge launch. We're cable and streaming and over the air. Every way you can get a TV signal, we're there.
Right. So it's baked into basic cable packages.
Yep.
And if you're streaming it from the internet, you got to download an app.
You can download an app. There are other ways to get it, but you can download a Merritt Street app. It comes up on in the Apple Store as Merritt Plus, and it works really, really well. I love the app because then you can watch it on your iPad or your phone. Take it with you, and it works great. I downloaded it, and I'm not Mr. Tech, but I was able to get it to do. But people can go to merrittstreetmedia.com, and it says Channel Finder. You hit that, then you put in your zip code. It gives you a whole list of where you can find it.
Nice.
So you can just enter any zip code there, and boom, 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 and then hit search providers, and you see it gives you a list of where you can find it in that market. So,
Well,
DirecTV,
congrats,
Dish,
man.
whatever. Yeah, it's working really well.
And did I read correctly that you are retiring from daytime TV?
Well, yes and no. CBS is still airing.
The Dr. Phil show.
Yes, CBS Media Ventures, which is the syndicator for the Dr. Phil show since the beginning, are still marketing the legacy, the library episodes in daytime. So they did last year, and they've asked to do it again for this year as well, this coming year as well. So I'll still be on in daytime, but all the originals are in primetime now on this network.
Okay.
And you're not filming at CBS anymore.
No,
We're
just
filming
here.
right here.
Yeah,
Yeah, here.
but so you just flew back. I mean, were you in LA, or were you going back and forth from Dallas to LA?
We have a home here and a home in LA, but we've been spending a lot of time here getting this network launched. I can tell you, when you go from an hour a day, 5 days a week, to 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it's like rolling backwards down a hill. I mean, it comes hot and heavy.
Yeah.
Because we got 4 hours of news a day, and then all these other shows that we're producing and everything. So it's busy.
Yeah. So you're continuing to tape the Dr. Phil show. It's just not on CBS. It's on
Merritt Street.
Merritt Street Media. So that's why you're saying it's not daytime TV, because you don't consider Merritt Street Media TV?
Well, it's on in prime time. Here we air at 8 o'clock.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Oh, understood. It is TV, but it's not daytime TV. It's nighttime TV.
Yeah, and it's a different format in a lot of different ways. So but we air at 8, 7 Central.
Right, okay. And presumably there's all your video on demand, so you don't have to be on a linear time schedule.
Right.
Man, so what do you do to stay in shape? Like,
Well, I'm a avid tennis player. I play tennis probably 350 days a year.
I knew that. And you're an avid scuba diver.
Yeah, I love scuba diving.
Where's your favorite place to scuba?
I love the North Wall in Cayman.
Okay.
Yeah, have you been?
I haven't. My favorite place was the Blue Hole in Belize.
Yeah, been there.
Been there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then me
It's
and
so
Steve-
far off the coast, though. You got to go so
Yeah.
long to get out there.
It's like a 2-hour.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, but I love the North Wall in Cayman. That's my favorite.
One of the craziest places that I've ever dove, and I think Steve and I were.
Fiji?
No. It was crazy because we dove this sinkhole that collapsed in Madagascar.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There was 3 divers that dove the sinkhole that worked for Nat Geo, and they discovered this, and then they had Nat Geo coming out 2 weeks after us, and they invited us to go.
Oh, wow.
So we were number 4 and 5 diving it.
Yeah.
And I mean, they had like ostriches that were double the size of the ostriches. Like, it was a 60,000-year-old sinkhole that collapsed, that they had, like, Mufasa lion heads that they only had fragments of in France, but they had like 3 perfectly preserved ones. I mean, it was the craziest
Wow.
experience.
How deep did you have to go to see them?
It wasn't maybe 30, 40 feet,
Wow.
but it was,
I love that because you can stay down a long time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about, oh, we went so deep. I hate to go deep because you don't have any bottom time.
You got like, because in the Blue Hole I did, it was 135 feet.
Yeah.
And you're down there for
12,
4 minutes.
14 minutes. Yeah.
Not even then, you had to go up to the top and
Hang.
But that was, yeah, we got to dive some cool places.
Do you, on top of tennis, like, are you into all the saunas and the ice bath? Now, if you don't know, ice baths are very cold and saunas are quite hot. But let me tell you about something that is explosively hot. It is my buddy Johnny Knoxville's new podcast called Pretty Sure I Can Fly. It is all about having balls. Like Knoxville would say, more balls than a bowling alley. Whether you're a woman or a man, and his co-host is a woman named Elena Baker. Knoxville really, really went in on this, man. He wants everything that he does to be so special. His guests stellar. His conversations about literally just eating fear for breakfast. He's talking to the most exciting people in the world. And his podcast, Pretty Sure I Can Fly, is here. You can get to it on the Wondery app or anywhere you get podcasts, or you can listen to it entirely ad-free on Wondery Plus. Again, it's called Pretty Sure I Could Fly. Pretty Sure I Can Fly. It's my buddy Johnny Knox, so please do support him. If you like Wild Ride, you're going to love Pretty Sure I Can Fly on Wondery, everywhere you get your podcasts, and ad-free on Wondery Plus. I love you, Knoxville, and I love your podcast. Now let's get back to it.
No, I have a lot of friends that talk about that, but Steve does it. Steve Harvey, he gets in these ice baths. He's trying to get me to get in there, and he stays in there for like ever. It's like 50 degrees, and he gets in there and stays forever. Like, are you kidding me? But he swears by it. He's doing everything he can to get me in there. And I'm like,
I feel like as a doctor, you would know the science behind like all the endorphin rushes that you
No,
get.
there's good science behind it. It doesn't mean that I want to do it.
Right.
It's good science behind the root canal too, but I don't go sign up for them.
Yeah, that's true.
That's fantastic. Now, Scott says, as a doctor, you're a mental health professional. You got your doctorate. Like, so if anybody says, oh, Dr. Phil, he's not a real doctor, like, they can go kick rocks, right? You're absolutely a doctor.
Yeah, of course. I'm not a medical doctor.
Okay.
I've got a PhD. When I went to school, I did my bachelor's and master's, and then I did my PhD in clinical psychology. And at the same time, they launched a program in behavioral medicine or medical psychology. So I did the core in that also. And then I did a year's postdoctoral training in forensic psychology in the law. So I did clinical psychology, medical psychology, and legal psychology. I did them all. So I had a pretty broad lane.
You've been officially recognized as reaching and helping more people than any psychologist who's ever lived.
Well, the American Psychological Association was kind enough to give me some acknowledgement for really using the media to get the word out. Because what we wanted to do was pushed the conversation about mental health and mental illness to the forefront of the narrative in America, because people were really reticent to talk about that. You didn't talk about it in polite society, and I think about mental illness the same way I would a kidney infection or a knee problem. Why have judgments about it? It's a disease just like anything else.
And everybody has it.
Yeah, of course, people all have challenges at different times in their life, whether it's anxiety, neurosis, or depression, or even psychotic episodes. So much of this, as we've learned across time, is neurologically based. It's not even a psychological issue. It's that your neurotransmitters in your brain get out of balance, and so people might have hallucinations or delusions or whatever, and it's because they've got neurological imbalances, and people judge that. So, oh, that guy's in quotes crazy, and which is, I think, a pejorative term, and more often than not, it's some type of neurological imbalance that if you can get the brain chemistries right, all that goes away. Mm-hmm. So I don't look at it as being any different than any other thing that might be out of balance. We all want homeostasis, right? We want balance, but we get into heterostasis. You get out of balance in different ways. And so I've tried to get people to think about it that way and not be so judgmental about it.
That's why you got to do an ice bath.
Yeah, I think you should tell me how it is. You should get in there and see if it kills you.
We're on the ice bath train. We both have purchased our own ice baths, and we do them every day.
Do you?
I do.
How long?
I got from Dana White, the president of the UFC. I got from him 50 degrees for 3 minutes.
Yeah, man. Does it just take your breath away when you get in?
They say when you get in and it takes your breath away because you get used to it, but that's like your fight response, just the reptile brain activated.
Yeah, by the time you get used to it, it's time to get out.
But yeah, well, but now I can do it, and I don't start breathing heavy right away, and you build up a tolerance to it.
I do believe that it's good for inflammation and.
Do you get it up to your neck?
Yeah, and then at the end I get all the way in under my head in the water.
How long?
That's just how I kind of cap it off before I get out.
Yeah.
I get in up to here where I can feel it on my carotid, and it's like a pressure. It feels really good. It's like a pressure point right there. But it psychologically, I feel like it's like cleaning my lymph nodes up here. The doctors always go in and touch that. I'm like, I feel like it's just flushing it.
So how many times have you done it?
I do it 2-3 times a day.
Yeah, but you're doing it in the 30s, right?
I do 37 degrees for 2 minutes.
Oof.
But it's I'll go in the sauna. I have a sauna at my house and an ice bath. I bought that before I bought any furniture. And so I do that, but it's one of the best feelings you can ever have.
Yeah, there's a diagnosis for that.
It's called
masochism.
Masochism. Yeah.
Punishing yourself.
Obsessive compulsive disorder.
That's fantastic.
People swear by it that it does help overall body inflammation and.
Yeah.
All right, you guys are talking me into it. Damn it!
I went and just got my physical.
Now this kills me. I'm calling you. I'm calling you guys.
Call Rogan.
Yeah, tell him. I went and got a physical at the doctor, and I notoriously kind of have high blood pressure. It's 135 over 90.
That's not bad.
And I've been doing the ice bath and sauna, and I did it before I went and got my physical. And my blood pressure was 111 over 65.
Oh, wow.
And they were like, wow, fantastic. I'm like, it's got to be that.
It's got to be.
And then there's our guy Isaac, who runs the computer up in the front. He had a torn ACL, and after his knee surgery was going to the physical therapist. And he had a number of visits with the physical therapist, but then started doing the ice bath. And after starting to do the ice bath, the physical therapist said, wow, what's going on? Your progress is off the charts over here. The healing,
Mm-hmm.
the healing really sped up with the ice bath.
Really?
Is that right, Isaac?
That is true.
That is true. All right.
Well, I like it. All right. So how cold do you get? You're down to 37 degrees?
Mine goes to 33, but it goes anywhere between 37, 33. It makes ice.
I set mine at 50 degrees, but then it just meanders down to 48 or up to 54. It's kind of in that
It's the
general
outside
range.
weather
Yeah, I don't
that you
know.
live in.
I don't know. But I
So
mean,
sorry I came here.
Yeah, it's okay.
She's talking me into this now. I feel like I'm going to be a wuss if I don't go do this.
I mean, hey, you know what? It's I think that you've made it this far. You look to be in great shape. You look fantastic. You know, if it's not broke, don't fix it. There's an argument for that.
Well, I got Steve digging me on it too. I'm probably going to do it. How big is this ice bath?
The size of a coffin. A bathtub.
They come in different sizes. Yeah, that's not the one. Oh no, wait, that's mine right here. The Chill Springs.
Chill Springs?
Yeah.
That's
oh
a good
wow.
one.
Oh wait, no, that's not.
See how happy those guys looking?
Wow, that's pretty crazy. Yeah, shout out to Chill Springs. There you go.
Yeah.
Now I want to acknowledge some of your staggering numbers. 9 #1 New York Times bestsellers. That's insane. To be a #1 New York Times bestseller is like, to me, so impressive, and to do it 9 times. Does anybody have more than that? Or are you the most #1 times?
I don't know. Maybe for a family. My wife has 2 New York Times bestsellers. I think my son has 3, or my wife has 3, and my son has 2.
Wayne Dyer had like
Yeah, but #1, Isaac, don't just type in most times on the list. Most times #1.
I mean, surely some novelist has 100 or something.
Oh yeah, that's probably
Yeah,
true.
probably some
Stephen
novels.
King's probably.
Yeah, Stephen King or Baldacci.
Yeah,
has a bunch.
Grisham, John Grisham.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably true. They probably. Yeah. All right. But the latest book, We've Got Issues. That's came out February 27th. So that one's already a #1 New York Times bestseller.
It's on the New York Times bestseller list. It's the first book I've brought out when I wasn't on the air, and
so you weren't able to.
Well, it
to
went
really
right
promote
onto
it?
the list, and I think it may hit #1 this week.
Okay.
It's been moving up the list pretty fast, and I think we may hit #1 this week. I hope so, anyway.
Right.
Been getting great support for the book, and it's the hardest book I've written out of the 10. Maybe because I'm old. Maybe that's it. I didn't remember it being this hard, but this one had so much research to it that it really took a lot of effort to write this book.
Yeah.
Because I'm dealing with a lot of psychosocial issues, cultural issues, things that we're facing in the country.
Right.
And I want these things to be right. So, like, I've got what I call a brain room that I use for everything that I do. It's a group of former college professors that I've got on the payroll that come from different disciplines and all. And whenever I write something, whether it's a column or a book or what I'm doing on the show, they scrub it, man. They do a deep dive. I mean, a deep dive to see if everything I'm saying is supported empirically. And if you're going to do that right, you've got to really dig in. For example, you can put in a statistic about marriage, and you got to look at the source and see where it's coming from. If it comes from a church, for example, they're going to be real conservative. And even though the numbers may be what they are, you got to say, well, who did the research?
Right.
What was the research design versus coming from a completely neutral scientific site? So we really dig into the data, where it comes from, has it been replicated, how actually robust is the information. And like I did this book, and it's got probably 250, 300 citations in it that are really good, really solid references for everything that I've put in there.
Now, you want to talk about a solid reference. Boy, do I have one for you right here. This is staggering. All right. Policy Genius. is the number one marketplace for life insurance in the whole country. And they have deals that are so ridiculous. I'm talking about as little as $292 per year for an entire $1 million worth of coverage. I mean, talk about staggering. It's ridiculous. Policy Genius is the way to get life insurance knocked off your to-do list quickly and easily. I mean, with just a few clicks, you're checking every different insurer out there and you're getting the best price guaranteed. Now, you go to policygenius.com/Stevo, even better deal. I'm telling you, it's a good idea to take care of your family. It's a good idea to have life insurance. So this incredibly strong reference is for policygenius.com/Stevo. The deals are unbelievable. Policy Genius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace. And I'm telling you, the deals are ridiculous. Now, let's get back to it. I'm so glad you said that about kind of vetting your data, because for me particularly, like scientific data that comes from animal rights people, like they will really, really skew the information they're giving you about the dangers and benefits of different nutritions.
Yeah, sure. And like if you get ask a question, should children stay together? Should parents stay together for the children? If the data comes from, say, the Mormon Church, who does not believe in divorce, that data is probably going to be collected in a way that says, yeah, you're better off staying together for the children. If you look at that purely from a neutral scientific side, it might come out differently. And it doesn't mean they've lied. It's just that maybe they're biased in their research design, or what's the criteria for better? What were the outcome criteria? So you got to really look and see if you're looking at gun research. Does it come from the NRA or does it come from the other side that wants to get rid of them all? So you got to really see where it's coming from if you want to be really fair about what you're representing as factual and truthful.
Yeah, there's the amen to that. And in your book, we've got issues. You definitely get into mass shootings.
I get into mass shooters, and it'll sound like I'm playing semantics with you for a minute, but I'm not. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I love talking about this. There's a difference between talking about shooters and shootings. We know so much more about who the shooters are than we're using. And if you start talking about shootings, then you get into Second Amendment arguments, you get into people about guns and should we have this, should we have that. Go argue about that till the cows come home. What I want to talk about is I set forth 10 principles in this book that I think are important for a healthy society. And one of them is we need to stop trying to win arguments and start trying to solve problems. And there's a big difference between trying to win an argument versus coming together and trying to solve a problem. And if we want to stop, slow down, reduce the number of these tragic happenings at schools, what can we do right now? And what we can do right now is we know more about school shooters. We don't have a profile. I can't give you a test to say who's going to be a school shooter, but think about this. What do we know about school shooters? Well, we know that they're like 98% male. There might have been a female in there somewhere along the way, maybe. We know that they're 16 to 18, 19 years old. We know that they have observable psychological issues, meaning that they have behaviors that make them stick out from the crowd.
Yep.
We know that they're going to have experienced some kind of trauma within their recent history. We know that they occur much more frequently in January and September, October than any other month of the year.
Why is that?
In fact, they occur more frequently on the 20th than any other. We know so many things.
Wait, why?
Because that's when they come back to school. If you've gone on Christmas vacation,
Yeah.
so you're away from school, and if the school's causing you pain, you're being rejected, mocked, marginalized, in some way traumatized by your school experience, you escape it during Christmas.
But why is the 20th so important?
Well, usually they come back at the beginning of the second week, and it tends to that
Yeah.
gives them time for it to build up, and it's
Yeah.
just kind of that's been a real frequent day. They come back and it starts to build up, and so those months are the worst months because that's when they return to the scene of the pain for them. We know that they have unresolved psychological trauma that's happened in their childhood, and something sets that off again. The vast majority of them get their guns from home or a friend's house where they were not locked up. So, and think about what that means. And so you say, well, so how do you find these guys? Well, let's say you go to a school where there's 800 students. Okay, first off, you can eliminate all the females, so you've now gone from 800 to 400. And then you say, well, you can eliminate down to just those that are 16 to 18. So now that 400 comes to like 150. Okay, now you talk about the ones that have observable psychological behaviors. Now you're maybe talking about 8 or 10. And so now you find out which ones have had issues just real recently.
What kind of there's no specific childhood trauma that they're dealing with, right? So it's not like, oh, they're
well, your classmates
survivor.
may not know that, but if they notice the behavior, like, and it can be something as simple as that Ethan Crumley was drawing pictures of bullets to the head of.
Yeah, that's a red flag.
Yeah, and it's on every assignment he's turning in. Now, there are also a lot of kids who do that don't shoot anybody. So it's not a differentiator, but it is a red flag.
Yeah.
And so you see that, and so now you start checking some things that aren't available to the students, which is their childhood trauma. You see that in the records. You talk to the parents, and you go over there you send somebody over to the house to talk, and there's an AK-47 laying out on the kitchen table. Okay, red flag. Is an unsecured gun, and one of the parents is in prison or has drug problems or whatever. You start seeing all of these things that fill in. They're not that hard to identify. The problem is, I went and spoke to a school here in Dallas, and I said, how many of you, if you had an inkling that something was going on, would report that? No hands went up. I mean, how many of you consciously would know it and not report it? Every hand went up. Why? They said, well, snitches get stitches. We don't want to be the one that tells. And I said, okay, look, before I leave here today, I'm going to change every one of your minds. And by the time I left, I got them to see it differently because here's the thing. These kids aren't monsters until the second they pull the trigger. The second before they pull the trigger, they're a kid in pain.
Wow.
The second they pull the trigger, they become a monster. But until that, they're a kid really in pain. If you can get to them before that, and you can minister them in some way, you can say, just come talk to me.
Man.
The chance of them ever returning to that point is almost zero.
When
if
you
can get to them before they do it.
Man, I'm glad that we're talking about that.
When you get a kid that finds a gun at his friend's house that's not locked in a safe, I heard that if it's not locked in a safe and it wasn't stored properly, whoever the gun is registered to, they're also implicated in the crime.
Well, that's up to the prosecutors to decide. They just put
Yeah, there's
that
precedent
kid's-
in Michigan.
they just put that kid's mother. She got 15 years. Now, should she or not? She was pretty complicit in that. There was a lot of. She knew some things that she could have acted on and didn't. I think that was gross negligence. Can you be responsible for anything your kids do? Of course not. But every situation is different. But the point is, we need a big campaign to say, keep guns out of the hands of people that shouldn't have them. I mean, lock them up. If you've got and parents, they're the ones that have their eyes on their kids. We've had a lot of parents that have called the schools and said, hey, I'm very concerned about my son. You need to put him on your watch list. We need to have a school counselor talk to him, do something. And that helps. What we need is the way I got these kids to change their mind, and I got every hand in the room, not just in blind compliance, but to say we understand that telling is not tattling. Every one of these shootings is a violent suicide. Not one of them intends to get out alive. They all are
What about
violent
the
suicides.
Marjorie, the one in Florida? That kid, that wasn't a suicide.
Yeah, they don't plan to live.
Yeah.
They don't plan to live. They
me ask
expect to
you-
get shot.
Let me ask you this. The amount of media attention, the amount of information, the amount of, I suppose, media revenue associated with just the shooter. I mean, is it not true that we make these mass shooters such celebrities by giving them so much media attention that it makes becoming a mass shooter appealing on some level? Like some kids are gonna think, oh well, this is
Like an
this is gonna
incentive.
make me famous. This
Yeah.
is gonna make me a big deal. And would we not serve our society better by really trying to curtail how much media attention we give to the shooter themselves? Can I just remind you that we're sitting here talking with Dr. Phil about some really good ideas? And here's a great idea. It's called Shopify. This is how you get ahead in life at every single stage of e-commerce business, starting with just building a website. I mean, the most useful, professional website that you can most easily build and then incorporate all the different components of e-commerce is Shopify. It's what I use, and I'll tell you that not all of my websites were that easy before I started using Shopify. And let me tell you, since I started using Shopify, I screamed past 100,000 orders in my online store at stevo.com, which is pretty rad, man. And like I said, no matter what stage of business you're at, Shopify is the way to grow and to get ahead. So if it's time to build your first website, Shopify. If you're selling soap or anything, anywhere, it's Shopify. And now I'm going to tell you how to get a $1 per month trial period. You go to shopify.com/Stevo. Make sure you keep that all lowercase. Shopify.com/Stevo for a $1 per month trial period. You literally cannot go wrong. And there is no way that's easier to start an online business and to grow an online business, no matter what stage you're at. So one last time, go to shopify.com/Stevo, keep it all lowercase, and get into this for $1 per month trial period. And let's get back to it.
You raise such a good point. There is something called the contagion effect. And one of the characteristics of these shooters, when they do what they do and we go in and study them, we find out that they have been researching, studying, finding out everything they can about other mass shooters.
Yeah.
They do become celebrities, and people emulate that. They copycat these guys. So there's a contagion effect. You'll find they've gone back and all the way back to the Columbine shooters. They go back and study them. They go back and look at the last 5 or 6, everywhere they can find. and they start to emulate them in terms of dress, the kinds of weapons they use, everything, and it inspires them. So there's no doubt. It's like, look what's happened in sports. The first few times there were streakers and stuff at football games, they'd show it. And so it just flourished. Everybody thought, oh, this is a good way to get famous.
Great
and
example.
then they quit showing it.
Yeah.
And when they quit showing it, it just almost disappeared.
Wow.
And now when it does happen, they don't show it. And so you never know who it is or what they were doing.
It's a great example. Man, what important and wonderful stuff. We've Got Issues is the name of the book, and where it goes into all of this. Can I ask, is smartphone addiction among the issues that you cover in the book?
It's huge. And I think it's one of the biggest changes that's happened to our society really since the Industrial Revolution. And that's a lot to say. And people can break Industrial Revolution down in maybe 4 different industrial revolutions. But if you go back to 1800, and we were industrialized long before that, but you go back to 1800, like 83% of American society was agriculture.
Yep.
In 1900, it was like 33%. In 1950, it was 5%. So big changes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I say that this is on that level of change to our society, in 08, 09, it's like big airplanes flew over the country and dropped smartphones on everybody. And what happened? Well, people were going through life like this, looking around. Then all of a sudden, everybody put their head down, started looking at their phone. And if you think about it, there's more computing power in a smartphone than we had when we put the man on the moon.
Okay.
I mean,
That doesn't seem like that staggering to me.
well, those big buildings down there had all these, false floors and air conditioners and everything for these big mainframe computers.
Right.
Got more computing power in an iPad or a phone than we had when we put the first man on the moon.
Maybe that is pretty good, but I think there's probably more, even bigger examples of how crazy it's gotten.
Well, everybody listening that's like, we didn't land on the moon, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't know if we are or not.
But, kids they stopped living their lives and they started watching people live their lives.
Yeah.
And here's the problem. They started comparing themselves to that.
Yeah.
And they didn't realize those lives are produced. Those influencers. I had one on the show last year, and she was honest. She said, look, I put up a video, and I'm putting on all these great clothes. So, I'm headed to the NBA All-Star game and putting on these great outfits and stuff. As soon as I stop that video, I carefully take those clothes off because they have to go back to the store. I cannot afford those. I'm not going to the NBA All-Star game. I'm sitting on the couch in my sweats like everybody else watching it on TV. But that's not what sells tickets. So I show this, fancy, glamorous life.
Wow.
And that's what kids are they look at that and go, man, I'm such a loser. I don't have that wardrobe. I'm not going to the All-Star game. And so in comparison, their self-worth goes down, self-image is damaged. And that's what they're comparing themselves to. It's a fantasy. It's like these girls drive by these billboards, for Guess jeans or whatever, and say, I don't look like that. Neither does she.
Right.
That's
all Photoshop.
Of course it is. I mean, it's a beautiful girl, I get, but they don't look like that.
I mean,
they compare themselves to that.
Like a dating app. Like, these girls don't look like that when I'm on a dating app, or, it's not real.
I've never been on a dating app, but I'd go the other way. Under promise and over deliver.
Right.
Who wants to put up, like Brad Pitt and show up and look like me? They go, oh shit, that's terrible.
Yeah.
You walk in and go, oh, no, thank you.
You know what I think I personally admire, is whenever anybody's been married, really, really long term. Have you hit 49 years yet?
I'm married 47 years. We've been together 50, but we've been married 47.
Okay.
How long does it take you to
Be
fart in front of
48
your
in
wife?
August.
I've always wanted to know that. Like, what's a healthy, appropriate boundary of like farting in front of your partner?
Never gotten there yet. I think she'd hit me in the head with a skillet.
Yeah.
Wow, my girl and I, we're not married yet. We've been engaged for a long, long time. 6 years we've been engaged. We've been together for a little over 7 years, and we rip them. We rip farts.
Yeah, but how long did it take you to start ripping?
It took us
See,
a good
3
4 or
years.
5 years.
Really?
What
See,
about you?
we were ripping third date.
Oh my god. I don't even want to know that girl's fart, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's but I just think that is you know, I have a fairly checkered past when it comes to relationships, and at a certain point I really decided that future happiness, particularly in my later years, was gonna be contingent upon me learning how to be in a healthy relationship and find a life partner.
So how long are you going to stay engaged?
Until spring or summer 25.
Why then?
Because we don't want to have children. We're sure about that. We want to pour ourselves into helping animals, and we've been looking for a big property to open up an animal sanctuary on. And we've since found it. We bought it. It's in Tennessee, and we're symbolically getting married on the ranch.
But I want to push back because you said 2025.
That's what Lux said. I said, so when do you want to get married? I'm ready. She said spring or summer 2025.
Oh, because in November you made an announcement on the podcast. You're like, it's happening in 2024.
Oh, well, I got that wrong. Okay, I reserve the right to be wrong some of the time. I think that's healthy.
Okay, good.
Well, I'm with you on the animals. I always have rescue dogs now. I've always had rescue dogs, and I got them from an animal sanctuary in Texas. These two. I had a show on CBS for a while called we couldn't decide what to call it, so we cleverly called it That Animal Rescue Show.
Nice.
That was the clever name, the Animal Rescue Show, and it was a great show.
And where did the Animal Rescue Show live?
Well, we moved around to different places, but it was all about rescue animals, and we did animals with autistic kids. We used animals in prison, all kinds of things. It's just a great show. I only did one season of it so far. I'll probably do another one. That bottom left's my best dog ever in history.
Wow.
Such a great dog. Lost her at 13 years.
Ugh.
Had her on dialysis for the last 2.
Man.
But what a great dog. Korean Jindo.
Yeah.
And I have 2 now that I could hold in my hands when I got them, one in each hand. They were from the same litter. And turns out they're Great Pyrenees. So now one's 125 pounds, the other's 115.
Wow.
So we got 250 pounds of dog out there. They're almost 250 pounds between them, 240 anyway. And they're great dogs, though. They're just wonderful. Love them to death.
And so that's you're doing that for animals, just out of love for the animals.
Yeah, I
but
just love animals.
the actual official 501c3 nonprofit organization. You've got one of those, yeah? Multiple ones?
We have one. It's When Georgia Smiled. It's about domestic violence and disadvantaged children.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Robin's really passionate about domestic violence, and
That's Robin is your wife.
yeah.
Man, it's so cool and so inspiring that you've been married for 47 years.
Yeah, I bet some of those felt like dog years to her, but yeah, she's great.
Yeah, that's amazing. 47 years married, but it's 15 years since you started your YouTube channel.
Has it been?
I think so. We looked it up. Your YouTube video, the first video was uploaded 15 years ago.
Really?
Which makes you an early adopter of YouTube,
Yeah.
which is great.
How about that?
Yeah, 15 years ago, and I was interested to ask you, did your experience with YouTube, even your experience with podcasting, did that inform your decision, your motivation to start the Merritt Street Network?
No, not really. I think that people are getting their information in different ways now than they did before, and I think that you got to meet your viewers where they are, and a lot of people watch Dr. Phil on YouTube and choose what they want to see and what bites they want, and they still linear television is still the free over-the-air television is still a huge source for people getting content.
Less and less, though, diminishing.
Yeah, but it's cut down probably 50%, 56%.
I'd say at least.
It is 56%. It's still the biggest source for people getting information, depending on the demographic. There are some young people that don't even watch TV.
Right.
They watch it all on computer or
for
phone.
sure.
But the older demo watches television, and they got the money.
Yeah, okay, good. Now let me ask you this, as far as the motivation to start Merritt Street Media, or the network. Like, you got the political leanings of, like, the Fox network is just all the crazy radical right, like, and then the MSNBC with all the left. Like, it to me, it's just kind of unwatchable when the source of news is so biased. I mean, kind of like going back to how data gets skewed by whoever's gathering it. Were you motivated to kind of be nonpartisan and unbiased?
Well, it's funny that you ask that, because if I trace back, I think every chain has its first link. And Robin and I were sitting in the kitchen at her house in L.A. one night a couple of years ago, and we were sitting at the breakfast bar in the kitchen. We were bouncing back and forth between all the different cable news, and I was grumbling about it as usual. And I said, so frustrated. This media drives me crazy. It's so much spin. You go over here, it's hate Trump, over here love Trump, over here right, left, right. No matter where you go, it's all spin. And so I get so sick of that. She didn't even look up from her plate. She just eating. She says, "Well, you are the media. So why don't you do something about it? If you don't like it, why don't you do something about it?" And she said, "And by the way, your ratings are bigger than the last 3 or 4 that you've bumped off here, back and forth combined. So you really can't complain if you're not going to do anything about it." And she was really right. And like on Merritt Street, we have 4 hours of news every day. It runs more than that, but there's 4 hours of original news every day. And I have a real interesting approach that I've implemented about the news. And that is, we're going to tell you what happened and then shut up. How hard is that? Just, here's what happened at 3rd and Elm today. Next, go on to the next story. People aren't stupid. We even in colleges and in schools, they're so busy telling kids what to think, they're not teaching them how to think.
Wow.
Why don't we just teach them how to think? Let's teach critical thinking. Let's teach them how to evaluate among the choices and reason through things. We don't need to tell them what to think. Let's teach them how to think, and then shut up about it. Let them make up their own mind.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, it is crazy. I was like on Yahoo or whatever, and I saw these headlines: The Rock's getting canceled. The Rock's getting canceled. Then I go on social media and they're like, The Rock's done for it. Nobody ever listen to this guy again. And I'm like, fuck, what did The Rock do? And it stemmed from a Fox News interview that he did, that he just said he wasn't endorsing Biden anymore. And it was sounded like I mean, on The View I saw a clip and they're like, okay, now we're going to talk about The Rock, and everybody cheered. And then Joey Behar looks up at the audience and they're like, oh, wait till we tell you what he did. And he just said he wasn't backing Biden anymore, and everybody wants to cancel him.
I don't know about everybody, but a very small number of people want you to believe that everybody wants to cancel him.
But they have a big voice. That's the crazy thing.
But over 80% of the content on Twitter is posted by less than 10% of the users. And you hear all this, this huge backlash to this, huge backlash to that. That is so not true. I asked a group the other day, do you know what bots are? They said, well, yeah, they're these automated accounts on social media. Yeah. And when somebody deploys bots to drive opinion, how many would you guess that they deploy? And they said, I think some of them would turn loose like 10,000. Really? Okay. That's how much they don't know. These bot farms have millions and millions of these accounts. And some of them are 10 or 12 years old. So they have followers because there's so many bots, they follow each other.
Wow.
So when you go to look at them, our cybersecurity people were breaking this down for us several months ago and showing us they grab pictures and they put them up. Mm-hmm. And so when you look to see if somebody has 0 followers and 5 posts, then somebody made up an account to tell you to eat shit and die. Okay, but if there's somebody there that's got the account's 12 years old and they've got 1,100 followers and all of these posts and stuff, you go, well, yeah, it looks like a real person. Their kids are growing up. You can see the pictures are growing up. No, they're not. That's a phony account.
And then so it's powered by AI.
Yes, it's powered by. They generate the messages by AI. They'll say, here's the core message, vary this 1,000 times, and put it out, and then this batch, vary this 1,000 times and put it out. But they'll have 10 or 12 million of these accounts, and they'll deploy them on an issue, and if they're targeting somebody, then they'll say, yeah, the backlash is huge. The internet's turned against them. This person's canceled forever. And then what happens is all of the sheep see that and jump on the bandwagon. So then you do get some real people go, oh, well, I guess this person did something horrible. And so then they start spreading it. And you've heard that old saying that a lie travels 6 times faster than the truth. MIT did a study and found out that's actually true.
Wow. Because
a lie is very simplistic. It's always black and white. Like, somebody did this. To be truthful, you've got to include facts and details, and it is nuanced and it's layered, and it takes longer to read. It doesn't read. It's not clean. It's not quick. Whereas a lie, you can just throw out something without concern for details, and it zooms around the world.
And then negative information.
Oh, scandal sells, man. It's got, you talk about
salacious.
Traveling.
Yeah, that's exponential.
Yeah,
that's not 6 times.
It's rocket, man. That really moves. Nobody likes to hear happy news. I mean, they might like it, but it doesn't have rockets.
Right. They say in news, if it bleeds, it leads.
Yep.
So is there, as an entrepreneur with Merritt Street, you kind of have to follow what's going to be successful.
You can find out what the people are really interested in. I mean, like right now, border and the economy are interesting. And you can make it interesting if you study language. Frank Luntz is a really good friend of mine. Do you know who Frank Luntz is? He's a pollster and consultant for a while for the Republican Party, and then he said some things that were balanced. And so I guess they got sideways. But yeah, he really is a linguist. He studies, like, he's the one that changed global warming to climate change. He's there's Frank. He's a really good friend, one of the smartest guys I know. And like he says, inflation is such an overused word. You should never talk about inflation. He says, talk about affordability. And it just seems like, just a simple change. But if you talk to people about, can you afford gas? Can you afford groceries? Can you afford your kids' lunches? People want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about inflation. Inflation's a political word. Talk to them about things they understand and it means something to them. And he's a great communicator. And if you use this kind of thing in your news where you meet people where they are in their understanding. Like, for example, if you use sports analogies with women, as soon as you do, they quit listening. But most of the guys, most people talking are men. Say, well, they're moving the goal line on us here. Well, you're talking to yourself, buddy.
Yeah. It's the bottom of the ninth.
Yeah. And when you do that, you lose your women listeners. They don't pay attention to that. I don't know what he's talking about. Moving on. And they just go on.
How scared are you about AI?
I'm not scared of it. I'm terrified. I saw an ad the other day. It was me in my voice selling and holding a product I've never even heard of.
Wow.
There's a deep fake with my voice selling some product I've never even heard of.
And it's indistinguishable from you.
I couldn't tell.
Wow.
I thought I looked pretty good. that was the only giveaway. I said, that somebody looked like he got some sleep. That can't be me.
Wow. So that's is that something that you automatically call an attorney about? Is that?
Oh, we send out 20, 30 cease and desist letters a month for fake ads and stuff. That's the first one I've seen. They went to the expense of a deep fake and.
But is it even expensive anymore? I mean, is it not just generated in
I think it's
seconds?
pretty easily accessible.
I mean, can you imagine what's going to happen during an election? You're gonna be like, dude, did you hear what President Trump said? And it's not even them. It's just some made up fucking.
You're hitting the nail on the head, because I think what could happen is when you get really close to the actual voting election, they could come out with something so close to the election that it impacts the vote, but it's too late for the candidate to really effectively respond. Like, hey, I'm dropping out. Don't waste your vote on me.
Yeah.
And I mean, if this election is going to be decided by what, 8 or 10%? You got right, you got left, and then there's that 8 or 10% in the middle. If you get 8 or 10% targeted with a powerful deep fake, it could drive the whole election. Scary.
Yeah,
I mean that's.
You can have an AI talking as Biden very eloquently, and you'd be like, "That's a fake. It's a fake."
Yeah.
Yeah, and what they come up with is going to have to be pretty explosive, given that Access Hollywood tape didn't do the job.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what about Putin? He's like, I declare war on the United States. It's like, oh fuck, did you hear what he just said?
Yeah.
It's not even him.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the deep fake is scary. What about job displacement resulting from AI? Do you think that?
Well, they think that when Andrew Yang was running, he was talking about with the truck drivers and the automation, because robotaxi's coming out in the end of this year with Elon Musk. It's but
think about truck drivers. It goes AI. They don't need to sleep.
They don't need to sleep.
They don't.
They said the only problem that they're going to have is the last 10 miles to the destination, because you have to navigate cities and park it. But they're for those long haul stretches, you don't have to sleep every 10 hours.
Yeah.
And they said, what does that do for the diners along the routes and the family-owned businesses that are set up to service these, who cares?
Right here, this says AI can replace the equivalent of 300 million full-time jobs. That's the entire population of America, almost.
We just did a show on it that ended just before I walked out here and got in here about the fact that there are so many million jobs in the trades, carpentry, plumbing, electrical, all of these jobs that the baby boomers were doing, where we had good carpentry, plumbing, etc., that they're aging out, and the younger generation is not getting trained in those positions because they all want easy jobs, they want white-collar jobs, so they're not getting trained in these hands-on vocational jobs. So nobody's stepping up to replace these jobs, and that we're going to be down 600,000 plumbers, electricians, etc. in the United States over the next couple of years. And those are jobs that AI can't replace. They can't come in and get under your sink and fix the...
Well, there's a break. That's good.
Yeah, but nobody's filling those jobs. The baby boomers are aging out, so they're retiring and nobody's stepping up and taking their place. And we had a master plumber on and a house builder that has a concrete company and a house building company, and both of them said, we're hiring people that aren't qualified because we got no choice. So we're having to spoon feed them and get it done because we have nobody to fill the jobs. It's already happening. And so I'm telling people, if you got a target rich environment, if you want to make money and have a decent, stable economy for your family, you have to look at these jobs.
Yeah.
There's some good, honest money, and if you're smart, you can own the plumbing company, you can own the electrical company. Maybe today a carpenter, tomorrow you own the lumber yard.
That's exactly why I say it's a good thing. I think that's great. That's really good advice.
People need to recognize that judging those jobs as second class is not right. And when things happen like this, you need to look and see what everybody else is doing and go the other way. Like when COVID hit, they called and shut down Paramount, where I was shooting at the time, and all the shows shut down and stuff. They said, what are we going to do? So we're going to shoot out of my kitchen is what we're going to do. Because to me, it's like you're in a NASCAR race and everybody pits but you. I mean, it's an open track. If nobody wants those jobs, man, go get in the plumbing business.
Yeah.
Don't whine about it. Seize upon the day. Go do it.
Yeah.
Don't whine. Don't wait for the government to come fix it for you. Go create an opportunity. That's the way I look at it.
That's great.
That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I could honestly, I could talk to you all day, Phil. I think.
You guys are fun. You're great.
I think this has been wildly compelling stuff that we've talked about. And I did have a little list here. I just want to glance at it.
All right, check your notes.
I'm going to check my notes here.
Check the
I wrote it down to ask you, in the face of smartphone addiction, are there any apps that are particular culprits for you?
Well, I think the social media platforms are bothersome to me. I think they're the ones. I saw a study, and I can't tell you what it was. I can't quote the study, but I saw it where, and I don't know the sample size, but it was pretty well done, actually. They asked a bunch of college kids, how much would we have to pay you to get off your phone and stay off these apps? And for several days. And I was surprised at how little money it was, but it was, money to college kids doesn't take much to get them over the hump. It was like $50 or something like that. Said, yeah, we'd do it. But what stuck out to me was they said, what if everybody got off of them? If nobody was on them, what would we have to pay you? And they said, we would pay you. We don't want to be on these. It's FOMO. We're so scared we're going to miss something, or that somebody's going to be talking about us, or something's going to happen that we'll be left out of. They said, we don't want to be on them. If everybody would put it down, hell, we'd pay you.
Wow.
People check their phones an average of 352 times a day.
I kind of don't doubt that.
Because it's the social media platforms. That's where people are getting engaged.
Do you find yourself scrolling through TikTok for entertainment or anything like that?
No, I don't have the time. And it's a time suck if you get into it. I mean, it's happened before where, Robin and I'll be, sitting there waiting for something and start scrolling through, and I love the animal videos.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we'll get on there, and then you can slide over, and it's a page of, funny dogs and stuff. I like to watch those.
And what app would you be doing that on?
That was TikTok.
Yeah.
Where we did that.
Well, it's crazy because like I've deleted my social medias a couple times for over a year, and it's the initial like, fuck, there's no way I can do this, and then it happened both times, and I remember I was just saying, all right, I'm just gonna do it, and I deleted everything, deactivated all the accounts, and then maybe after the first night, I never thought about it again.
Yeah. Well, when I come in the studio, I put my phone in my desk or give it to Eric up there, and I never look at it the whole day, do I? I don't even check email. I don't think, because I'm 100% immersed in what I'm doing, and I don't miss it. Don't think about it.
Yeah.
Which, to the chagrin of a lot of people trying to get in touch with me, because then I get at the end of the day, I got emergency.
Yeah.
Well,
that I can relate to.
Yeah.
A lot of chagrin going on over here.
Yeah.
People trying to get messages to me.
Well, it's not that we're trying to like. We'll get message. We need questions to ask Steve.
Well, we need answers from me.
Well, I need answers, and he'll send us back a picture of him chopping wood.
Yeah. Yeah, they're trying
I get immersed in.
They're trying to get
wood.
answers. Are we really going to talk to Dr. Phil? I mean, come on, this guy's ancient. Let's talk to somebody relevant.
No,
dude, it's an absolute
seriously.
Honor. It's a real honor, and I didn't want to badger you about our buddy Bam, but of course I saw but you talking to him, and I think that you handled that pretty well, as well as he could.
Yeah, I meet people where they are, and you can. I've always said you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them float on their back.
Yeah.
You do everything you can, and I think he's got a great heart. I think he's a wonderful guy, but you got to get them when they're ready, and seize the day when you can. And
yeah. It's just it's the blaming everybody else. If you can just step up and take accountability for your situation, then I think the whole landscape of your life changes.
That's true with everybody and everything, and we got to do that more in this country. This idea about everybody finding a new way to be a victim.
Yeah.
Yeah, what they say that. Like somebody said to me, they said, hey, if you want to be a victim, it's not that hard to make an argument that makes you a victim, But if you do accomplish that, congratulations, you're a victim.
Yeah, let me tell you, the government's never going to entitle you to self-image. It's never going to entitle you to self-worth. It's never going to teach you that you can rely on yourself. I see it with the government. I see it with concierge parents. Only way a kid ever learns about themselves is if they get out there and overcome something and go, hey, I did that.
Mm-hmm.
I bet it was 30 years ago. My mother, God rest her soul, she had a little girl living next to her, was about 4 or 5 years old. My mother went out to get the mail, and this little girl came running up and said, I can zip, button, and tie. My mother said, what? She said, I can zip, button, and tie. And she said, oh, really? He said, yeah. I said, well, can you show me? And she said, yep. She zipped up her jacket, and she buttoned up her sleeves, and she tied her shoe. She was so proud that she could do that. And that's always stuck with me, that just that little girl at that point had achieved those things and was so proud of it.
Mm-hmm.
Versus her mother in there zipping her jacket, buttoning her sleeves up, and tying her shoes. That girl could do it, and that is such a message for life. You observe yourself do things, and you say, I can do that.
Yeah.
And that's true at every stage of life. You observe yourself do something, and you say, by God, I can do that.
Yep.
Got to let them do it, man.
Esteemable acts. That's
Yep.
what they call them.
I love it. So we'll let everybody know that it is very easy to figure out how to watch all kinds of great television programming, important news and entertainment on Merit Street Media. This is Dr. Phil's network, and you go to meritstreet.com.
Media.com.
meritstreetmedia.com.
Or download the app. If you've got Apple, you can go to Apple Store and download Merit Plus or Merit Street app, and fixes you right up so you can watch us on the go.
I'm excited about true crime.
Yeah, I love
great
true crime.
shows. You can hear Nancy give them hell.
And this episode will actually come out next week. So if we haven't got Dr. Phil's new book, We've Got Issues, to #1 on the New York Times bestseller list by this week, then for the love of God, get Dr. Phil's book when you hear this, and let's get it to #1.
Yeah, it's a good read, I promise.
Yeah, I mean it's any page that we randomly flip to had something fantastic on it.
And if you buy it and don't like it, Steve-O's giving you a money back guarantee. He'll send you your money right back.
And so get the book, get on with the network, and if I can ask you to sign this for me,
Absolutely,
Phil.
I will.
And thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so
man.
much.
Now let's just bring it home, baby. That was Dr. Phil. I'm so stoked on that episode. I truly am. I hope it got the audience that it deserved, and the audience that is still here because they stuck around to the very end deserves to hear how much I appreciate them. I'm telling you guys, I love you so much. And of course, I'm sitting here at the Radical Ranch in Tennessee. At this point, hate leaving. I love my ranch so much. I hate leaving. And when I do leave, I try to keep it like a strike mission, a precision strike mission. Leave, be efficient, get whatever needs to be done, and come back. And that's what we did in Texas with Dr. Phil. And I might as well just tell you because you're the ones I love. While we were in Texas, we also did Cowboy Cerrone, UFC legend. And man, he might have talked me into getting on testosterone replacement therapy, and he might have looped me directly in with the company that can make that happen. It's called Transcend, and I've already had my blood work, and I might have a needle in my butt cheek by the end of the week. But who knows? And we also had another mind-blowing conversation with Duncan Trussell. Just 3 episodes in and out, and that buys me 3 weeks at the ranch. What can I say? I love it here, and I love you. Thank you for sticking around to the end. I genuinely loved that episode. Yeah. All right, guys. Woo!